The Supreme Arbiter felt a knot of anxiety tightening in his stomach. He had prayed to the celestial triad that this day would never arrive, yet here he was, gazing out at the armada of 10 obsidian dreadnoughts looming in the void. These ships, bristling with weaponry, were piloted by the Drens, the galaxy's most feared marauders. The Drens were infamous, traversing from star system to star system, planet to planet, demanding tribute and obedience with a threat of utter destruction looming over those who resisted their might. No civilization had ever stood victorious. The galaxy's only reprieve was that the Dren, for all their technological prowess, were notoriously inept negotiators. With their overwhelming power, they could have extracted far more from the civilizations they subjugated, yet they often settled for a fraction of what they could have demanded. So, the Supreme Arbiter found himself in an unenviable position. The Drens had approached the Interstellar Coalition's borders, and the Coalition's leaders had dispatched him and 12 other envoys to negotiate before the Drens decided to simply annihilate them. His twin hearts pounded in his chest as the view screen flickered to life, revealing the Dren commander. The commander's appearance was deceptively unremarkable, green-skinned with an angular face, but his eyes were piercing, scanning each delegate with unsettling intensity. The Supreme Arbiter began, his voice trembling slightly. "Honored Dren Commander, we welcome you and are grateful for the opportunity to engage in these negotiations." The Dren Commander's expression remained unchanged, but his eyes softened slightly. "You may address me as Commander," he said, his words processed by the translator. "Thank you, Commander," the Supreme Arbiter replied, bowing his head. "We appreciate your patience and forbearance." A muffled cough of amusement came from one of the other representatives, a member of the newest race to join the coalition, humans. The Supreme Arbiter shot a warning glare at the human representative, who had been part of the coalition for less than a few cycles, far too soon to be involved in such critical negotiations. Nevertheless, coalition law required all member races to send a delegate. "Get on with it," the Dren commander snapped. "What do you offer to prevent your annihilation?" Swallowing hard, the Supreme Arbiter responded, "Mighty Commander, the Coalition offers you the third sector of our home system, from the star known as Rho to the planet called Trix, including thousands of mineral-rich asteroids, 30 planetary bodies, and their moons." The Dren commander leaned back, appearing disinterested and disappointed. "Next," he said, waving a hand at the view screen. One by one, the other representatives made their offers, each bowing deeply and promising vast sections of their domains, untold resources, and even fleets of ships. Then it was the human's turn. "Most esteemed and powerful Commander," the human began, standing tall and not bowing much to the Supreme Arbiter's dismay. "As the newest member of the Coalition, we cannot offer any of our territory or resources." The Supreme Arbiter's eyes widened in horror. What was this human doing? However, the human continued, "What we can offer you is a big glass of shut the hell up." A shocked silence fell over the chamber. The other representatives stared at the human in terror, certain they were all doomed. The Dren commander, who had been gazing around idly, snapped his attention back to the view screen, his eyes narrowing dangerously. "Who said that?" he demanded, his voice trembling with rage. Before the human could speak, every other representative pointed at him. The human looked around, unfazed, with a slight sneer. The Dren commander scrutinized the human intently. "I want to understand your intent," he hissed. "Did you mean to imply defiance?" The Supreme Arbiter began to stammer an apology, but the Dren commander roared, "Silence, worm." He pointed at the human. "I want him to speak for himself." The human stepped forward confidently. "My apologies, Commander. There appears to be some confusion. I did not mean to imply defiance. I meant to make it abundantly clear that under no circumstances would we bow and scrape to you or give you a single thing." The Supreme Arbiter felt his legs give out. It was over. They were all doomed. The human continued, "Perhaps if I told you to go back to where you came from and perform unspeakable acts with your own mothers, my meaning would be clearer. Does this help you understand my position?" The Dren commander listened to the translator, had it repeat the human's words twice more, then focused his gaze on the human and stood up. "Silence," he commanded, though the chamber was already quiet. "Finally," he said, a broad smile spreading across his face, "we have been searching for you." The human was taken aback. "Searching for us? You know nothing about us," he replied defiantly. The Dren commander laughed, a chilling sound. "Oh, but I do. I know you joined this coalition recently," he began, settling back into his chair. "I know it didn't take you long to realize you are predators among prey. I know you understand that none of these other races can challenge you." The human stiffened but remained silent. The Dren commander continued, "I know you realize there must be more out there, something worthy of your strength. I know your race thrives on competition and conflict, it is in your blood. And I know this because we are the same. A tense silence followed. The human finally spoke, carefully choosing his words. I thought I knew you, but I was mistaken. Now I think I understand. Please, enlighten me, the Dracen commander invited. The human took a deep breath. You became complacent. You felt trapped, suffocating among those you knew were not your equals. The galaxy thinks you are bullies, and they give you trinkets to appease you, not because you are foolish. But because you do not care for such things, you push them not to intimidate but to find a worthy opponent. You fear boredom above all because without challenge, there is no life. You fear becoming weak, facing only the weak, and now, having faced this realization, I understand you feel the same as us. The Supreme Arbiter and the other delegates were silent, unsure of what would happen next. This was uncharted territory. My race has a saying, the human said. When the two strongest meet, they must fight. The Dren commander nodded, though his expression was one of sadness. We stand on the edge. Do we fight, or do we find a different path? The human stopped pacing and faced the commander. In my gut, you do not feel like an enemy, you feel like a brother. The Dren commander nodded slowly. Long have we searched for you, not just to test ourselves in battle, but because we sought something more. Now that we have found you, I do not want to continue on that course. I have an idea, the human said, smiling. Why don't you come over? We throw some food on the grill, have a few drinks, and discuss our future. The Dren commander chuckled. The translator did not catch half of that, but it sounds good. We will prepare for transport to your vessel. Not this one, the human replied. We have a battle cruiser hidden behind the nearest moon, just in case. Let's meet there. The Supreme Arbiter was stunned by this revelation, but the Dren commander laughed heartily. I knew I liked your race. Oh, and commander, the human added, since we both thrive on competition, what do you think of sports? The Dren commander's eyes lit up with interest. Sports? Tell me more, he gleamed with curiosity. Sports, the human representative John grinned, are contests of physical and mental skill, strategy, and teamwork. They range from one-on-one duels to massive team-based games. They allow us to push our limits, test our strengths, and improve ourselves without the destruction of war. Think of it as a way to satisfy our need for challenge and competition in a controlled environment. The Dren commander leaned forward, his interest piqued. Intriguing. Can you give me an example? John nodded. Certainly. One of our most popular sports is called soccer, or football in some parts of our world. It's played between two teams of 11 players each. The objective is to score goals by getting a ball into the opposing team's net, all while following specific rules. It requires agility, strategy, teamwork, and endurance. The Dren commander's eyes narrowed thoughtfully. A game of skill and strategy. I like the sound of that. It seems it would be an excellent way to test our abilities without unnecessary bloodshed. Exactly, John agreed. We have many such sports, some that emphasize strength, others that focus on speed, strategy, or precision. There are even simulations that mimic battle scenarios without any real danger. It's a way to keep our competitive edge sharp. The Dren commander sat back, a contemplative look on his face. Your proposal is interesting. It offers a way for us to engage without the need for constant conflict. I think our people would be eager to participate in such competitions. John's grin widened. I'm glad you think so. Perhaps we could arrange a series of matches between our best athletes and warriors. It would be a way for us to learn from each other and build a bond of mutual respect. The Supreme Arbiter, who had been silent up until now, cautiously spoke up. If I may, this could be a historic opportunity for all our races. A way to foster peace through competition and understanding. The other ambassadors, still recovering from the shock of the earlier exchange, began to nod in agreement. The idea of channeling the Dren's need for competition into something constructive was appealing. The Dren commander stood up, his imposing figure casting a long shadow across the view screen. Very well, human. We will come to your battle cruiser, and we will discuss this further. If your proposal proves as compelling as you claim, it may mark the beginning of a new era for our people. John bowed slightly. Thank you, Commander. We look forward to welcoming you. As the view screen went dark, the Supreme Arbiter turned to John, his expression a mixture of awe and disbelief. You may have just averted a galactic war, human. John shrugged modestly. Sometimes all it takes is finding common ground, and maybe a little bit of audacity. The Supreme Arbiter nodded, a smile creeping across his face. Indeed. Let us prepare for our guests and ensure that this meeting sets the stage for a future where our competition can lead to mutual growth rather than destruction. As the preparations began, there was a palpable sense of hope among the delegates. The path ahead was uncertain, but it held the promise of a new kind of unity, one forged not by subjugation or fear, but by respect and shared purpose. And at the heart of it all was the indomitable spirit of humanity, ready to turn potential enemies into allies through the simple yet profound power of competition.